Welcome to the show. Picture this: shiny boardroom wall, giant letters, safety first. Then, out on site at 4:20 on a Friday, someone gets told to finish the job before knockoff because production can't slip. And just like that, the poster becomes office wallpaper. I've seen more glossy culture posters than I've had hot coffees, and that is saying something. Safety first, zero harm. Our people are our greatest asset. Lovely. Beautiful fonts, usually laminated. None of it means a damn thing when the real reward system says, get it done, don't make noise, and for the love of God, don't delay the shutdown. That's the uncomfortable truth. A slogan doesn't stop a bad decision when the system rewards shortcuts. Culture is not what the wall says. Culture is what people get praised for, what they get quietly punished for, and what gets waved through when things get messy. Take the examples sitting right there in the safety-wise material. In the lead investigator course, there's that workshop case. Vehicle needs repair, workshop's full, no spare vehicle, wet ground, pressure to get weekend production going, supervisor waiting to go for a beer. And somehow, we're supposed to believe the issue is just that one mechanic made a poor choice? Pull the other one. The welder worked under a poorly supported vehicle, yes, but the system had already loaded the dice. Full workshop, no third-party maintenance contract, no spare vehicle, pressure, and a supervisor who ignored the unsafe practice. That's why I keep banging on about this. Culture lives in reinforcement. If the crew that takes the shortcut gets called practical, and the crew that stops for a proper risk assessment gets called slow, congratulations. You've just written your culture policy in real ink. And if you want a more formal version, the safety-wise material says it plain enough. Critical risks need critical control management. Significant events need systemic investigation. And individual accountability needs a fair and just culture process. Not one of those works if leadership is still sending mixed signals. You cannot say safety always in the town hall and then run organisational optimizing violations in the field, where commercial, production or service goals override safety goals. That phrase is straight out of the human error material, by the way. Organisational optimizing. Fancy label for the old classic, we know it's dodgy, but we need the job done. I mean, I'm not anti-values. Values matter. But they only matter when they survive pressure. If your expectations change the second the schedule blows out, then your real value isn't safety, it's output with a safety-themed screensaver. So when people ask me, Cam, how do you judge culture? Not exactly by the annual report, mate. I look at three things: what gets tolerated, what gets repeated, and what gets ignored. Because once you know those three, the posters can stop shouting. The system's already told you the truth. Now, when the wheels do fall off, sometimes literally, culture gets very easy to see. Investigations start coughing up the same themes over and over. Passive toleration of violations, incompatible goals, weak supervision, and bugger all organisational learning. Let's ground that in actual examples. In the Pocket Investigation Guide, HF22 is passive tolerance of violations. The example given is brutal in its simplicity. A manager sees an electrician working on equipment that is not isolated and does nothing. That's culture. Not the electrician's laminated induction card, not the slogan on the crib room fridge. The culture is the silence. Same in that light vehicle rollover example. History of speeding behaviour on site. Unaddressed. 8 LV rollover incidents in 18 months. No follow-up of key actions. No formal journey management plan. No formal risk assessment for a lone driver in a remote area. And then the incident happens and everyone acts shocked. Really? Shocked? The system had been writing the prequel for a year and a half. Or look at incompatible goals, IG in the guide. Conflicts between production, safety, planning and economic goals. You don't need a PhD to spot it, you just need ears. We need it running by Monday. Don't hold up the paw. Just get through this shift. That's the soundtrack. Workers are then left to solve the contradiction on the fly. They know the formal rule, but they also know what the business actually wants. And that tension is where violations breed. Weak supervision? SafetyWise spells that out too. DFO4, awareness supervision. No active supervision of the work team on the day. In the greater near-miss case, the operator was reversing without a spotter. 2 labourers were 1 to 2 metres away. No direct communication, no barriers, no risk assessment, and the area supervisor and leading hand weren't even aware the task was happening like that. That is not a poster problem. That is not a "please retrain the workers" problem. That is a supervision and control problem. And here's where organisations kid themselves. They say, "We've got a training issue." Maybe. But training is not a magic pesticide you spray on every systemic cockroach. If the procedure is unavailable, the supervision is absent, the schedule is cooked, the work is badly planned, and non-compliance is routinely tolerated, then sending Barry to another 4-hour refresher is just theatre. Expensive theatre, mind you, with muffins. A training problem is when people genuinely do not know. A culture problem is when people know, the supervisors know, the managers know, and the behaviour continues because it is useful, familiar, or inconvenient to confront. Big difference. And poor organisational learning might be my favourite disgrace. OL in the guide. Lessons not learnt from occurrence investigations. Corrective actions not effectively implemented. Repeat events. That's when an organisation tells you, "We take every incident seriously," while repeating the same mechanism with slightly different scenery. If the same non-compliance keeps showing up, it's no longer drift, it's design. So what does a real culture look like? It looks boring, mostly. Clear expectations, proper risk assessments, competent supervision, follow-through on corrective actions, people knowing the procedure, having the gear, having the time, and having leadership that doesn't go missing the second production pressure turns up. The SafetyWise material is pretty plain on the mechanics. Good investigations follow goal, gather, organise, analyse, learn. Data gathering through PEPO, people, environment, equipment, procedures, organisation. Recommendations should be smarter, specific, measurable, accountable, reasonable, timely, effective, reviewed. And they should line up with the hierarchy of controls, not just die as another admin action buried in SharePoint. Because this is another trap. A lot of organisations investigate a serious event, discover system issues, and then respond with the weakest controls available. Toolbox talk, memo, retraining, reminder to comply. Beautiful, we've solved engineering and supervision with a PDF. In the guidance, it's there in black and white. Administrative controls and PPE are lower order. Sometimes necessary, sure, but if every recommendation lives down the bottom of the hierarchy, don't be surprised when the event comes back wearing a fake moustache. Real culture also means leaders monitoring whether corrective actions are actually closed and effective, not assigned, not in progress, effective. The governance workbook goes hard on that point. Officers and managers need processes to receive and respond promptly to incidents, hazards and risks, and verify that resources and systems are actually being used. In other words, don't just sign the action register and wander off. And yes, fair and just culture matters, absolutely. But, and this matters more than people think, only after the facts are properly established. The lead workbook says it clearly. Fair and just culture is used after the ICAM investigation is completed, and it's not a replacement for proper investigation. Too many places race to accountability before they've even done decent data gathering. They want to decide whether the person gets coached, counselled, or disciplined before they've mapped the system that shaped the decision. That's backwards. First, understand the event. Then, consider accountability in context. A fair system doesn't mean no accountability. It means accountable without being thick-headed. Honest slips, lapses and mistakes are not the same as reckless violations. Routine violations tolerated for years are not the same as a one-off deliberate act. And if leadership created the incompatible goals, ignored the earlier warnings, tolerated the drift, and starved the supervision, they don't get to wash their hands of it and point at the operator. So if you're trying to build culture, stop asking whether the values poster needs a redesign. Ask better questions. When a task is under pressure, are expectations still clear? When procedures don't fit reality, does someone fix them? When near misses repeat, do we learn or just log them? When a supervisor sees a breach, do they intervene or stroll past? Because the real culture of your organisation is not hanging on the wall in reception. It's sitting in the next decision somebody makes under pressure. Anyway, have a think about that. Catch you next time.